Thinking about relocating to Atlanta, Georgia in 2023? We've got a complete guide for you coming up. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Victor. I'm a local real estate agent here in Georgia, and I put out weekly videos all about what it's like to live in Atlanta and the surrounding cities. In this video, we're talking about relocating to Atlanta, Georgia in 2023. We'll take a look at what it's like to sell a home in one state and move to Atlanta. We'll talk about what it's like to search for homes here in Atlanta, Georgia, and we'll also talk about what it's like after you close on a home in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's go. For many people who are moving to Atlanta, Georgia, they kind of have either family or friends who already live here in Atlanta. So they've usually visited and they kind of have an idea of the different suburbs and what the different cities are like. For example, Marietta is not like Alpharetta, and Alpharetta is not like Peachtree City. So if you aren't already familiar with what the different suburbs are like in Metro Atlanta, coming to visit in person is really the best way to get a good feel for what the different areas of Metro Atlanta are like. Something that I typically suggest to many people who are coming to check out the area is to really take a look at the downtown or the town center of those different areas. Marietta has Marietta Square, and Roswell has downtown Roswell. And those city centers really give you a very good idea of what the city is like or what the people are like there in that city. Once you know what part of Metro Atlanta you're wanting to live in, feel free to give me a call. We can set up a Zoom call so that we can have a conversation about the different parts of Metro Atlanta and make sure that that area that you're wanting to live in is right for you. We can talk about the specifics of that city or that suburb. We can talk about what it's like to live or what the schools are like in those specific suburbs. And then we'll also have a conversation about what kind of home you're looking for. We can dial down to make sure that the criteria that you are looking for in a home is something that we can find here in Metro Atlanta. Setting up a Zoom call with me is super easy. If you're thinking about moving to Atlanta, feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. Thank you so much to everyone who has reached out. I'm always happy to help. When you do reach out, we can set up that Zoom call and we can find a time that works well for you so that we can have that initial conversation. Okay, so you've figured out what part of Metro Atlanta you want to live in. We've had a conversation about what kind of home you're looking for. One of the next steps that you should do is talking to a lender about getting a mortgage. Keep in mind that whatever state you're in, typically that lender that is local to that state is usually licensed here in Georgia. No matter what state a lender is in, they're typically licensed in many of the states around the country. So you don't need to talk to a lender here in Georgia to get a loan here in Georgia. If you live in California, you can talk to a lender there in California. And the main reason why you want to talk to a lender and get a pre-approval for a mortgage is that sellers typically don't really consider offers without a pre-approval attached to them. You can always submit an offer without a pre-approval, but a seller would never really take that offer seriously. So we want to make sure that we are submitting offers with a pre-approval. And then another common question that I get from many people who are selling one home in one state and then moving here to Metro Atlanta is, how do you time those two transactions so that it's convenient for that person? So how do you sell one home in California and buy a home in Georgia and do that easily or smoothly? And one of the best ways to make that transition happen smoothly is to have your real estate agent where you're selling your home contact me so that we can coordinate those closings to make it fit for your schedule. For example, if you're needing to sell your home in order to purchase a home, we want to make sure that the home that you're selling closes before the home that you're buying. Or if you're wanting to buy the home first so that you can move things from one home to another conveniently, we want to make sure that the home that you are buying closes before the one that you're selling. Another very useful tool that we use to make that transition smooth is a home sale contingency. This contingency protects you from having to purchase the home here in Metro Atlanta if your home in another state doesn't sell. So if you have a closing date on the home that you're buying here in Metro Atlanta of, say, May 30th, and the home that you sell in another state doesn't sell before that May 30th date, you would not be obligated to buy the home here in Metro Atlanta. And this home sale contingency protects you in case that home doesn't sell. Now that you have started the sell process of your home in another state and you have your pre-approval and you're ready to start searching for homes, there are a bunch of different ways where you can find homes for sale. Of course, apps like Zillow or Realtor.com or Redfin are really good sources for being able to find homes that are for sale here in Metro Atlanta. And then, of course, the real estate agents here in Georgia have access to the MLS. We have Georgia MLS and we have First MLS here in Georgia. And these are the platforms that real estate agents use to list homes for sale. In fact, those websites or those apps like Zillow, they pull directly from the MLS and they update about every 15 minutes to an hour or so. So whenever a home becomes available on the MLS, it also becomes available on Zillow or Realtor.com. When you've come up with a list of homes that you're wanting to see and you're wanting to tour so that you can make sure that it's the right fit for you, there are a couple options that we do for clients who are considering moving to Metro Atlanta. One is that we do virtual tours for that list of homes that you're wanting to see, or the second option is that we do showings in person. So if you are living in another state and you are wanting to see a home that just came on the market, we can always go out to that home and do a kind of video tour, whether it be on FaceTime or Zoom. We can have a video tour of the home so you can get a really good idea of what it's like. And then if you're here in person, we can do a traditional showing where we go to the home and we really get a very good understanding of the home and the layout and the neighborhood. And there certainly are pros and cons to these different routes. Again, if the home just comes on the market and you don't want to miss out, but you're not here in person, being able to do a virtual tour is super helpful. But of course, in person, you're going to get a much better feel for the home. What I suggest is a combination of the two. If you're in another state and you're wanting to see homes, we can always do those virtual tours. But once you go under contract, you can come and see the home in person. And what really makes this work is that the first week of the going under contract is the inspection period. And during the inspection period, you can terminate a contract for any reason at all. So we can do the virtual tour to make sure that it's the right home for you. Then you can come to that home in person once it's under contract during the inspection and make sure that it's a right fit. And then if you come here in person and you determine that this is not, in fact, the right home, you can terminate the contract to purchase that home penalty-free. Which brings us to another really important note. Let's talk about what the contract process typically looks like here in Metro Atlanta. Usually the contract period is about 30 days. And by contract period, I mean the time when you submit an offer and the seller accepts that offer and you go under contract. That contract period from when the seller accepts your offer to close is usually about 30 days. That first week is the inspection period. Again, during that inspection period, you can terminate a contract for any reason, penalty free. And then the next few weeks is the lender making sure that you can afford the loan that you're wanting to take out for that home. And then the last week or so is the closing attorney making sure that the home and the title to the home can be transferred to the new owner. We want to make sure that the person who is saying they are the seller and they are the owner of the home is in fact the owner of the home. And it's not just some random person trying to sell a home. The closing attorney takes care of that. They will make sure that the title to the home can be transferred properly to the new buyer. Okay, so we've made it this far. We've determined what part of Metro Atlanta we want to live in. We have an offer accepted, and we've already made it through the entire contract period, and we're coming to closing day. So typically closing day is pretty simple. It's usually about a 30-minute to 1 hour appointment where you sign a whole bunch of documents that are required by the closing attorney and by the state and by the lender. But once closing is finished, let's talk about what to expect after closing. A couple things that you want to consider after closing is making the move, hiring a moving company. There are a couple different options here. You can hire a company that is local to the home where you're moving from to move all of your things here to Atlanta, or you can hire a company here in Atlanta to travel to your original state and move everything here to Metro Atlanta. Another option is to use this pod where the company will drop off one of these giant pods. It's like like a giant crate container and they drop it off like in the driveway. And then you typically have a week or two to load that pod with different things, different belongings, furniture, whatever it is. And it really makes that process a little easier because you can take your time. And then once it comes time to move everything, that company will come out and take that pod to your new home here in Georgia, which makes the process a little bit more convenient. And then the other thing to consider after you've made the move is transferring utilities. Keep in mind that utility companies don't really want to come out to the home to like shut off the water just because someone says that they are canceling their account, because they know that somebody else is going to move in that home and pick that account back up. So they're not going to send someone to the home that same day to shut it off and then wait for you to set up the account. And then so they have to send somebody else to come out to the home to turn the water back on. Like they know that somebody's going to move in. So they typically have like a grace period before somebody else sets up an account to start paying for that water bill again before they shut off all of the utilities. Setting up those utilities are pretty simple. You just call the company, or you maybe set up an account online and you transfer that into your name. Of course, you would set up like some kind of payment process. And once that happens, those utilities just continue. They don't have to turn off and they continue in your name. No question that the moving process to Atlanta can be super daunting. If you're wanting to know more about the best suburbs in all of Metro Atlanta, check out this video. I'll see you there.